If you've been married for 10 years or even divorced for 10 years, there's a Social Security rule that could mean thousands of extra dollars in your pocket during retirement. But most couples don't even know this rule exists. In this video, we're going to look at this rule, see who qualifies, and how you can use it for your advantage. So first of all, let's look at the 4 different ways that you can take Social Security benefits. Now, the first one is going to be retirement benefits. So this is if you yourself have worked and paid into the Medicare system for at least 40 quarters. So this would be 10 years. So you're going to draw those Social Security benefits based on your own work record. Now, the next one is the spousal benefit. So that's what we're going to look at today in this 10-year rule, but you can take Social Security benefits based on a spouse or an ex-spouse's work record, and you're going to be eligible for 50% of what that spouse is eligible for. Now, something to keep in mind, both of these, both retirement and spousal, you can start taking at age 62 up to age 70. Same thing for spousal, you can start taking at age 62 up to age 70. And we'll talk about how taking at different times will give you a different amount. Now, the third way to take Social Security benefits are survivor benefits, okay? So this is also called the widow or widower benefits, but it's not necessarily just a spouse who has passed away. It could be if you're taking care of the dependents or children of someone who passed away. It could be somebody if you have a child who has a disability of someone who's passed away. So there's a couple different ways to take survivor, those widow or widower benefits, and you can get 100% of that benefit, and those can actually start at age 60. Even lower. Actually, if you're a disability, they can start as low as age 50 for the survivor benefits. And then the last way to take Social Security benefits is through disability. So if you have a physical, mental, emotional disability, you can actually get Social Security disability benefits at any age. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the spousal and look at this 10-year rule. So what is this 10-year rule around spousal Social Security benefits? Well, what it is that if you're divorced from someone that you were married to for at least 10 years, you can still draw Social Security off of that person's work record or their benefits. And this person doesn't need to approve it. A lot of people think, do I need to get my ex-spouse's approval? They don't have to approve it. They don't even have to know that you're getting these benefits. So that's what we're going to look at today, this spousal 10-year rule and how you can claim these benefits. Now, the 3 rules that are going to apply to all Social Security benefits are, first of all, the amount you get in your benefit could be reduced based on if you take it before your full retirement age. So we'll look at that. What is your full retirement age, how to calculate it, and how much can your benefit be reduced? Also, they could be subject to the earnings test. So this puts a limit on how much money you can make, how much income you can make if you're still working, if you're taking these benefits. And then lastly, no matter what benefit you apply for, the Deeming Provisions rule may come into play, and your benefit may be affected by the Deeming Provisions. So the first rule is that if you take Social Security before your full retirement age, you're going to get your benefit reduced, okay? So when they look at figuring out what you're going to get paid for Social Security, they're going to look at either your or your spouse's or ex-spouse's top 35 years of earnings over your life history, right? And that's how they're going to come up with this figure that is your PIA, your primary insurance amount. So this is going to be the amount that you're going to get at your full retirement age. And we'll take a look at what that age is going to be or how you figure that out. But if you take early before that full retirement age, they're going to deduct the amount you get in your benefit. And that deduction is going to be a deduction for life, okay? So if you're taking Social Security through retirement benefits, meaning your own work record, every year you take early before your full retirement age, they're going to penalize you about 6% per year. So it's actually about 0.5, half of a percent every month, and that comes out to about 6% per year. Now today we're looking at the spousal benefits or even ex-spousal benefits. If you take those early before your full retirement age, it's going to reduce your benefit by a little bit more than 0.6% each month, which comes out to about 8.4% per year. So it's going to reduce your benefit that amount, and that is for life if you start taking before your full retirement age. And then lastly, those survivor benefits, they take about 0.35% each month, so that would equate to anywhere between roughly 4 to 5% per year that you take early if you're doing survivor benefits. So just keep this in mind. If you're going to take spousal benefits, you want to realize if you take them much earlier than your full retirement age, you could lose up to 8.4% per year in that benefit for life. So how do you figure out what your full retirement age is? So if you were born in 1954 or earlier, so if you were born before 1954, your full retirement age is going to be 66 years old. Now, after that, each year we're going to add on a few months, okay? So if you were born in 1955, your full retirement age is going to be 66 years old plus 2 months. If you were born in 1956, it's going to be 66 plus 4 months. If you were born in 1957, it's going to be 66 plus 6 months. If you're born in 1958, it's going to be 66 and 8 months. If you were born in 1959, it's going to be 66 plus 10 months. And then if you were born in 1960 or after, your full retirement age is going to be 67 years old. So let's look at an example of this. Let's say that someone's birthday is today, July 8th, 2025, and they're going to be 66 years old. So that means their date of birth was July 8th, 1959. So now if you remember, in 1959, the full retirement age is 66 plus 10 months, okay? So if they're turning 66 today, we would want to count 10 months added to that. So we would have August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So this person's full retirement age would be May of 2026. So again, very important to know if you're taking Social Security benefits, because if this person takes benefits before May 2026, they're going to get penalized for taking early, right? They're going to deduct the benefit they're going to get. Also, you can continue to grow your account. If this person waited past age 66 and 10 months, they could continue to grow their account each year up to age 70. But you definitely want to take your benefits before age 70 because they're not going to grow after that, so it doesn't make any sense to continue waiting past that point. Hey, if you found this video helpful, do us a favor. Go give us a like. We always appreciate it. And subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those future videos. And leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We love to answer any questions you have. That's what it's here for. So drop us a comment below. So now that we've figured out how to calculate your full retirement age, let's look at that second rule that applies to all Social Security benefits, and that is the earnings test. So if you're going to take those spousal benefits, let's say you're taking benefits from an ex-spouse, but you're still working, you're going to make sure you need to know about the earnings test. So there's the low earning test and there's the high earnings test. So the difference in these are the low earning test is going to be for the years you're not hitting your full retirement age, okay? For the high earnings test, that's going to apply the year you are hitting your full retirement age, okay? So let's take our example that we just talked about. We had somebody whose birthday, their full retirement age is going to be May 2026, okay? So let's say this person started taking Social Security. In 2025, they're going to have the low earnings test apply to them because in 2025, they're still not hitting their full retirement age. So that calendar year of 2025, when they're taking their benefits, they cannot make more than $23,400. Now, if they do, they're going to be penalized $1 for every $2 they go over that amount, okay? Now, the next year in 2026, they would be subject to the high earnings test. So this is the calendar year they're going to hit their FRA. So from January through May, they cannot make more than $62,160. Now, once you hit your FRA, your full retirement age, there's no more earnings test. We don't have to worry about it. But for that high earnings test year, if they go over this amount of $62,160, they're going to might be penalized $1 for every $3 that they go over that amount. So you want to make sure if you're taking Social Security benefits, spousal or even your own, you want to make sure you're aware of that earnings test if you're taking benefits and you're still continuing to work before your full retirement age. So the third rule that applies to all Social Security benefits is the Deeming Provision. So if you're born after January 1st, 1954, the Deeming Provision is going to come into play when you apply for Social Security benefits. So this just means that when you apply, you're applying for all the benefits available, and you're going to get the max benefit that's available to you. So you're not going to be able to get your own and then take some from your spouse as well. You're going to get one benefit, and they're going to give you the highest amount, whether that's from your own work record or from a spouse or from an ex-spouse. And that's what the Deeming Provision is when it comes to applying for Social Security benefits. So let's look at what these spousal benefits entail, whether we're dealing with a current spouse that you're married to or an ex-spouse. Now keep in mind, you're not going to get 100% of their full benefit. When we're talking about spousal, you're going to get 50% of the benefit they're eligible for, okay? So you get 50% of that spouse or ex-spouse's full benefit amount, okay? So with a spouse, the rules are you have to have been married for at least 1 year or longer. So if it's a current spouse, 1 year or longer, that spouse has to be at least 62 years old, because that's when you can start taking Social Security, and that spouse does have to be taking Social Security themselves, okay? So current spouse, if you want to take spousal benefits from their work record, had to have been married for 1 year or longer, they have to be at least 62 years old, and they have to be taking Social Security themselves, okay? So now this ex-spouse rule, and here's where this 10-year rule comes into play. So you have to have been married to this ex-spouse for at least 10 or more years. So you had to have been married 10 years or longer. Now you also could not have remarried before the age of 60. So let's say you were married to this person, you got divorced when you were 56 years old, but then you got remarried when you're 58. You can't do that. You're not going to be able to draw from that ex-spouse now unless that marriage, the second one that you married when you were 58, ended in death or divorce itself. Then you can go back. But if you got married after age 60, that's okay. You just can't have gotten remarried before the age of 60. Now there's another rule that comes into play here. Now if you have been divorced from this person for 2 years or less, so you've been divorced 2 years or less, that person has to be at least 62 years old, and they themselves have to be taking Social Security, okay? They have to be taking Social Security benefits. So let's say you're turning 62 years old and you want to start taking these benefits from your ex-spouse, but you guys just got divorced when you were 61. So you've only been divorced for a year. That means that an ex-spouse, because you've been divorced less than 2 years, will have to be 62 years old, and they will have to be taking Social Security as well. Okay? Now, if you've been divorced 2 years or longer, so you've been divorced longer than 2 years, the person has to be 62 years old, at least 62 years old, but they do not have to be taking Social Security. Okay? So they don't have to be taking Social Security. So again, if you've been divorced less than 2 years, the person has to be 62 years old and taking Social Security. If you've been divorced longer than 2 years, they have to be 62, but they do not have to be taking Social Security. So this is the 10-year rule around this and trying to draw benefits from an ex. Now, one thing that's interesting, a lot of people, sometimes we'll talk to people and they're worried. They're like, do I have to have my ex-spouse approve this? Do I have to get their approval to take Social Security benefits from them? And the answer is no. You don't have to get your ex's approval. They don't even have to know that you're taking Social Security benefits, spousal benefits from their record. So there are some key pieces of information you need to have with you when you go to apply for this, and we'll talk about that. But they don't need to know. They don't have to approve this. And also, if they stop taking their Social Security, it doesn't impact you, right? The money you're getting does not impact what they get. So they're totally disconnected when it comes to their benefit and your benefit. All right, so what information do you need if you go to apply for ex-spouse's benefits? And again, Social Security office, they are not going to notify your ex that you're applying for these benefits, and it's in no way going to impact impact their benefit. It's important to know you cannot do this on SSA.gov, so you're not going to be able to enroll for these benefits online. You're going to need to call and make an appointment with your local Social Security office and sit down with them, and there's some information you're going to need. So first of all, you're going to obviously need to know your ex's full legal name, which hopefully you know that if you were married for 10 years, right? You're going to need to know their date of birth, their place of birth, and a lot of people are worried because a Social Security number, even though it's helpful, it's optional. So even if you don't have your ex's Social Security number, you should still be able to apply for those spousal benefits with that ex. So don't feel like you can't apply if you don't have their Social Security number, okay? But the main thing you're going to need to know and that you're going to have is proof of the dates of your marriage, because you're trying to prove you were married for at least 10 years or longer, and when you got divorced, okay? So you're going to have to prove this either with a marriage license and certificate, a divorce decree. Those are things you're going to want to have with you when you go for the appointment to apply for the benefits. So now that you know all the rules in this 10-year rule about taking those spousal benefits, you can go and check out this video, and it's going to teach you more about the best timing on when to take Social Security.